So this road is starting to get a little bit overgrown. It doesn't really look much right now since they dropped their leaves due to winter coming, but summertime is like an alley going here, scraping against the car. So this particular road was built mainly for logging trucks, and well, they don't like having brushes scraping against the truck when driving here, so we're gonna get rid of this. So I'm thinking I'm gonna build something for the excavator. These are starting to get rather big. Well, you could manually go cutting them down, but nah, who's got time for that? So let's build something to the excavator to get rid of this. So you can see they're starting to get rather big, so kind of time consuming going here manually trying to cut everything down. So we gotta introduce them to some hydraulic power. I think I'm gonna build something with a chain. Well, you can see there's a lot of brushes to be cut down here. So I'm gonna use all the existing things I already have to build this thing. So we're gonna use this hydraulic motor, sheeting, and some chain. This is like the main components in this build. So this motor is actually coming from a machine exactly like this. So it's sitting here. This thing has two motors similar to that to drive this brush. So, I mean, it's gonna have enough. Torque is not gonna be a problem. But the speed, on the other hand, we're gonna calculate on that, seeing so we have enough speed. Ouch. just so it doesn't go on kind of exact. Just gotta hit it a little bit more here. Coming now. So let's have a look at these numbers here. So the numbers are... So the meaning of this code is that this is a F11 serial motor. I use this for different projects. This is 150 cubic centiliters per revolution. So that's just the cc. That stands for motor, F flange maybe. So since there is no R or L here, meaning left or right rotation, means that this is a bidirectional motor. These are just, I guess, bolt holes, shaft, stuff like that. It's a motor and it's 150 cubic centiliters per revolution, which translates to 1.5 liters. The excavator I have can produce, I believe it's 100 liters per minute. So the revolutions we're gonna get out of this motor is 666 revolutions per minute. So I think that is gonna do quite a lot of damage. I'm not really sure how fast something like this should spin with the chain. It's probably not gonna go, probably gonna be a few percent less in actual revolutions here, but so each second that spins 11 times. So is that gonna be enough? I have no idea, but it feels like that is gonna do some damage considering the weight of the chain there. I mean, I'm not sure if this is enough or if it's too much. I never used anything like this for cutting bushes like this, so we're just gonna have to test that. So with that said, these motors are mainly built for torque, not speed, but I think we can still get enough speed from this. The good thing, or the reason why I want to use this motor, is that this can take a lot of abuse. So what if we just turn this around and mount chains onto that? And yeah, one more thing here. If you wonder why I don't have any work tables, anything yet, it was between this project or building a work table, but I feel like the winter is closing in so fast right now, so I want to get this done and use it. Then I gotta start building the work table. So now we have a middle here. I'm thinking I'm gonna use this. I can cut up sheets with this, using as two sides. But we're gonna do that later on. First, I'm gonna need to know how far the axle is gonna come down. I think we can save some time and just use this, since this has already pre-drilled hole for that motor. The only thing we need to do is this kind of guard is going down a bit on the other side, so we need to cut that out. Oh yeah, so this part here is sticking down. This is a RPM sensor. We're not gonna need that though, so I'm gonna take that off also. I think this is good. This is gonna kind of stabilize the entire thing here, since this is so thick. But I gotta cut this off, so I can get this to sit properly here. So I'm gonna need to change this. This is starting to fall apart. I can see it's kind of burnt up there. Oh, I do have new of this. It should cut better now. Everything is so extremely heavy. I really need to build some things I can lift stuff like that. Like a little crane I can use here. Let's test the mount for the excavator. So I'm thinking here, isn't this just a I think this is a really good spot. That is gonna, if we got this welded onto this plate, it's gonna take up the weight from the motor there. And I mean, if I didn't use this, I believe this would have been really floppy working with. Now it's gonna get rather stiff. What if we leave it at this height? It's kind of bit down here. So if we use this, the axle is gonna end just here. And the chain is gonna get... What if we connect the chain on this lower side? So I think this is a good height as it is. So what if we make the sides this long? So we're gonna have to strengthen this. You can see this is going down a little bit, like a bow. So it's a little bit too soft to leave it like this. So we're gonna find something, weld that over here to make this straight. But before doing that, we're gonna do a cutout here. So if you have the bush like this, and we're coming as it is right now, and the chain ends here, this thing needs to bend that down and then start cutting it. So that's not going to be effective. So what we want to do is we want to cut out a piece here so the chain is in the open. So the first thing hitting this bush is going to be the chain. So when it comes close to that, the chain is going to take that clean off. That's the plan. Okay, so that's supposed to symbolize the chain that's coming there. So this is sort of in the middle. Let's see if it... Okay, so there's that edge. There's that edge. And there's that edge. So yeah, this is in the middle. So I'm just going to use this. Kind of easy to see how the chain is going to go here. And cut after that. So I'm gonna mount it like this. Can almost get my hand, or I can get my fingers under here. I do not have enough of this. I was thinking about cutting this 45 degrees outwards here and then a piece going down to strengthen the sides. I'm gonna cut them kind of exactly, and we're gonna figure something else out. So I'm thinking I'm gonna use this, just in case you kind of ram it down the ground, it won't sink down as much. If I only have it like this is so thin, so that will definitely get pushed down in the ground. It's the next day now. The little snow we got turned into water, and now it's just a little bit of drizzle coming down here. It's on the plus side. So I did pour this apron last week, so it's been curing for a week. I just had this on to protect it, to kind of keep the heat in that. But I gotta remove this now. This is kind of done. So. So I did pour this with heating hoses inside the slab. So I just ordered stuff to connect this heat onto this, so I can keep this dry the entire winter. That's a future project. Now we're gonna have a look at that. So my intention when I started to build that was to use this machine to power it. But the more I think about it, the more I want to use the skidster instead. So this thing doesn't have a case drain installed. I just realized that. I didn't really think about that. I'm gonna explain soon what case drain is if you don't understand that. This thing don't have that. It's not really hard to connect something like that. You just don't need to draw a line to the hydraulic tank there. I mean, the excavator is good if you want to get down in the ditch, clearing that. But if you want to drive as it is after that road, it's kind of... So it just feels faster going with something like this. You just set that on a plane level and you just go forward. It's not really the same thing with the excavator. That thing is more time consuming if you want to just go on a plain surface like the road is. Well, so we're gonna try that thing with this, but if it works good and stuff like that, we can still install that on the excavator this coming summer if we want to clear down in ditches and stuff like that. This thing also has this high flow. This delivers 127 liters per minute. That's 27 liters more than the excavator can deliver. So we got a little more RPM with this. Yeah, so what if we build a mount like this? When doing mount for the skidster, you kind of need to have them a little bit forward like this, because when you pull this cylinders back in, so this thing is gonna be kind of straight. So in order to be able to lift this up in an angle, you need to weld the mounting a little bit like this. So this thing has a case drain here. That is going straight back to the hydraulic tank. So when running a motor like this, there will be internal leakage in that. So there will be hydraulic oil getting pushed into the housing of this, and that needs to be drained, therefore case drain. And that oil needs to be drained without any pressure. So I think they specify a pressure of 0.5 bars. Above that and you can damage the motor. Why does everything has to be so heavy? I think I'm gonna start collecting stamps instead. So I just remember I had this laying at home, so I went and got that. This was supposed to be when doing the legs for my working table. I think I bought that for that. It's quite a while since I bought this thing. Kind of forgot about it. But yeah, it's gonna be used here now instead. I still gonna need to go to the steel shop and buy stuff from building my work table here. This is not gonna be enough. But I'm gonna strengthen this. Then I'm gonna lift it in this mount we just built, and I'm gonna make the hole. So this thing are, well, locking this through the holes here. But I want to be able to lift this before doing the hole so I can see that this is sitting correctly. So now when we have that pipe, I'm not gonna need this. So I'm gonna use that to strengthen this. 2 pieces, one going there, one going here. And then from that, maybe 1 piece going up here and then going down here or going down to that, just to kind of lock this entire structure. Okay, so I feel like we're closing in now. It's not really much more. Yeah, so we're gonna build a step here, so when you go into the cab, you can step there, step here, into the cab. So this is sitting perfectly here. It's going inside all the way, and this is snug there. And same on the other side there, so. But I gotta build a table to put this on, so we can, well, we're gonna do the holes here, and then we're gonna cover this hole in the backup so it doesn't spray rocks and stuff out of that. Let's unbox this thing. Well, that was a rather easy install. Oh, nice. Okay, this is much better. So this back part is still completely open here. So I thought I should put something here just to deflect whatever this thing is throwing back. So what if we just put chain pieces here? So I'm just thinking about welding this here. That should sort of deflect anything thrown out of here. It's not really a big deal maybe on the skidster, but when you put it later on the excavator and use that, you really want something here. At first I thought about just welding some hinges here and put a steel plate, so that thing can kind of rock freely here, but nah, let's use the chain. I got some chain, so why not use that? So one thing to do this would be to thread this in a small rod. You can just thread this in. That would rather be rather fast instead of welding this, but I don't have anything small enough to fit through this. The smallest threaded rod I have is 8mm, and this is, well, I think this is 6, so it's not gonna go through without a lot of work. So let's just weld this here. We gotta do that. So the time lapse you just watched took kind of exactly half an hour to weld this. Let's get this thing off. Something I realized when welding this is that I'm creating loops. So each one get on. The problem with that is that something might get stuck in this and start ripping that chain off. So that's half an hour of welding for nothing. Something we could do is that, well, we could simply just cut this off in every single loop, making that a single chain like this. It's like 80 snips with this. I'm not really feeling like that. we're just gonna believe on this. So the thing with this is that it's much more dense than I initially thought. I think this will deflect fine. Something coming there. Kind of deflected. The faster it goes, the stiffer the chain gets. Or not. Nah. Let's leave it like this. Let's do the holes now. Not sure if you can see that, but there's the mark. So it's coming down there, the top part, and then it's going like a wedge and gonna get spread out to around here. And make that. Like that. Okay, this is, that is spot on. So I changed my mind, I'm still gonna use this. I'm just gonna cut it a little bit smaller to fit between there. So, I mean, that shearing I'm using is kinda thin, so that is gonna crack after a while. So I'm just gonna go through this with the steel brush, getting most of the oxidation away from here. So later when painting that, it kind of has something to stick to. So I gotta go through this, then we're gonna weld this plate here, installing the motor, making the piece for the chain, and just finishing up all the small parts here. And well, it's kind of ready for painting after that. It doesn't smell that good. I gotta let that rest. Oh. So this thing contains more than 5 kilos of weld right now. I know that since I used more than one roll of wire, filler wire to the welder. So I don't think this is gonna fall apart. So I gotta start with the motor now. I just gotta brush it up rather quick. And we're gonna install that, putting the chain and the hydraulic. Try to avoid a mess here for painting that. So I just thought I'd give this a try, see if I can get it loose, and no problem, it just came right off. So this felt way too easy. These things usually sit really tight. So we're not gonna go with the same kind of diameter on the hose here. We're gonna go with a much smaller hose. The hoses that's been, I don't know how much that machine had. 300-400 liters per minute compared to this. So it's not gonna be much. So I gotta go into town. Well, I'm gonna go tomorrow. It's getting really late now, but see if we can find something. See how long this is. Gonna go there like that, and then it's gonna, well, so this is 2 meters, but you still want to be able to tilt this forward, so it's gonna be a little bit longer than that. So let's make them 2 meters and 40 centimeters. Let's do that. So it's gonna bring this thing with me. Sure it's big. So this is my old wood presser I built for the skidster. I'm just gonna steal the coppers from this, since I know these fit the skidster. Yeah, so it was in this project I actually learned about hydraulics. So I didn't know anything about it before I started building this. So this motor here, that's also an F11 motor. It's just that this is 15 times smaller than the one we're using. Okay, so let's go buy some hydraulic hose. Some other stuff just arrived. So this is all for heating this later on. So yeah, the main reason I want to heat this is to not have that. Kind of a hockey rink, having it like this. Let's get these on first. So then what I did is that, so from here, I'm not gonna go straight with this hose to the machine. So what I'm gonna do is that I also bought T-fittings and a check valve I'm gonna install. So that's gonna be installed here, and then from here on it's gonna go from the machine. I'm gonna show you why in a little bit here. This here. Here we're gonna get a T-fitting. Oh, this is getting rather... So the plan is to get this check valve installed here. I just realized, well, this is gonna be rather tight. But well, it is what it is. I think we can get it on as it is right now. So we want the rotation. This is blocking flow from this way. We want the... Okay, we're gonna want the rotation like that. Now we gotta get this here between. I think it's kind of possible. Yeah, that's possible. Just gonna soften these up a little bit. Well, that was exact. I don't know, I mean this works. Oh, now we should have gotten a 90-degree fitting there. Nah, we can make it like that. This. And this is the case drain here. This is gonna go here. Okay, so everything is stuck now. So everything is tighter now, except the return and the drainage coupler. I want to drain the system before when I start it, so the old oil that's in this is gonna get drained. I don't want that in the system. But the reason for this now, the check valve, is that so the flow is gonna come in from this hose going into the motor, making that spin and then return to the machine. So this is not gonna do anything when the motor is running. The thing is just when I close off the hydraulic inside the machine, there's gonna be a momentum left in this. So when the flow gets blocked in both hoses here, that oil wants to go somewhere. There's probably a relief valve inside the machine that it can go to, but just to release the actual pressure here is that these hoses are getting blocked, so the oil is gonna go like that, and then it's gonna go through this and back to the motor until the momentum stops and the oil stops. So normally when the oil is flowing in this hose, it can't go this way, so it's just gonna go inside the motor, and the return flow is not gonna be higher than the actual pressure, so that is gonna remain closed, so it can kind of slowly stop spinning instead of just abruptly stop. That's the point with this. Yeah, so let's drain the oil and test this motor. Hopefully it works. It should work. So I just checked the playback here, and well, that wasn't fast at all. So hopefully, just hopefully, the hoses are mixed up here. I believe the thing is when you use, so there's a special button when you want to go in high flow mode with this, and when you use that, it only goes one way. And hopefully it is that I just can switch these hoses to get that to work. I think now it's going the wrong way, so it just gets flushed through this check valve here. So we're gonna try switching the hoses. Getting a little nervous. Let's go like that. So if you're wondering why I'm using these pliers, is that I don't have the correct tool in here. Imagine spending all this time building this only to build yourself a tree spanker. It would be kind of a shame. Okay, so that was much better. Seeing that kind of speed, I don't know, it kind of looks still a little bit slow. So I do have a handheld RPM meter. I'm not sure where it is though, but instead of searching for that, seeing the RPM this is giving out, I'm just gonna finish this piece with the chain, and we're gonna go out test it. That's the only way to really find out if it works. That's testing. I'm not really caring about the numbers. I'm more into does it work or does it not work. So we're gonna do that. So I'm gonna weld this piece. We're gonna get 2 pieces of chain onto this, throw it onto the motor, and we're gonna take it for a test ride. But I mean, it is alive. It's always a little bit of, I don't know, it's always a good feeling seeing something you build starting to come alive like this. Like your own little Frankenstein. I'm not gonna be able to use this hose. This chain is just too small, so I can't go with these. Let's do that, then we got so we don't have to take, I think it's easier just taking out a little bit here than starting to drill a new hole. I mean, these are centered. Hey, this die again. Yep. I don't know, I think this died for real this time. I don't think it has any safety features like that. Nah, this is dead. So I have this piece of flat iron. I think this can work. What if we put this between here, between these two, so kind of hold that in better? So I gotta turn the motor so the hoses are facing that way. They got a little short, so. So it's a really tight fit, so I'm gonna need to heat this up to get that on, but I gotta remove the chain. Since I realized I gotta need to lock it in here in the back. I could put a hole here, use that to lock this in, but nah, I'm gonna use the other one. Oh, I just put it on the wrong way. Getting tired. Ah, why did I do that? No, it's stuck. Let's just say it's been a long day. Okay. That's the problem. I'm gonna get this out. Yes, we got it in. I need to cool this off. Okay. Let's go right to cool it. That helps. That is now buttoned out. Yep, so it's coming out there now. Must remember, this is just idle. I don't really want to be close to this. To be fair now, the thing I fed this with was kind of rotten, so no, I guess that's why it kind of exploded like that. But at the same time, this is giving me a lot of hope. I mean, since that was just on idle, and you can just feel the momentum in this. This thing wants to destroy. So yeah, I'm really optimistic about this right now. So it's getting rather late and it's way too dark, but tomorrow we're gonna take this and go to the forest road. I'm gonna give this a test. I thought about painting this, but I'd rather just use it, see that everything works, and then we can paint it. If you feel like it. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, so we're into the next day now, and it's been, well, it's -6 right now. Guess it's been a little bit colder under the night. Wonder if we can stand on this ice. I don't want to get wet though. Oh. Yeah, that's... So this is working really good. One thing though is I'll need to be with the machine kind of in the ditch we're working now. So the reason I didn't weld anything here is so I can get this further out. The plan was to weld something to lengthen this width, but I didn't have enough steel for that, so I gotta do it like this for now. This can be a future upgrade. So we're just gonna adjust so we can get this mount here. First at home. Well, maybe not the best for the... I think it's gonna work like that. So yeah, I don't even know what to say about this. It's like, this is total havoc. It just eats whatever you feed that thing. I just realized in the beginning I didn't have full throttle, so when I really got full throttle now, I don't think this thing understands the concept of stopping. It just goes on. Even though, I mean, big rocks, it shoots them onto the road there. So yeah, I'm really happy with this build. I was a little bit worried there in the beginning about the RPMs of this, that it won't be enough. I mean, the RPMs are kind of in the limit of being a little bit too low, but now this thing handles that fine. So I know the machines they use, well, the things you buy, I think they are specified to go in, is it 1500 RPMs? So I mean, this is, if this, I don't remember how much we calculated, between around 700 maybe with this machine. So it's less than half of what they have. The thing with this is that this got torque on the other hand, so it doesn't stop. When this hits something, it just keeps going. I mean, it's a special feeling when you build something yourself and it actually works really good. So there's some thing we can do to this. Well, I'm still gonna cut these off. Not that I had any problem with them getting caught in anything. And the chain, well, it's starting to take a little beating there, the tiny chain. So when I cut this up, I realized I have enough chain so I could use this chain in the back there as a protection. But it doesn't spray anything up. I was a little bit concerned about that also. That's why I kind of goes with the safety glasses if that windscreen is going to explode sending in a rock. But it doesn't send anything shooting up. And the flow is gonna need to be changed. As it is right now, it's just throwing everything up on the road instead of throwing it away. But let's see this chain, if it's stretched. I'm also a little bit concerned about that. I don't know the quality of this, so if it's just a soft chain or what it is. No, it's still the same length, so well, yeah, you can see it's starting to, well, not really though. But yeah, it's a little beating. Well, of course, it's hitting against rocks, so it's gonna take a little beating. This is kind of starting to break up here. So yeah, so we might change that to this bigger one, cut up pieces of that. Or I gotta put some rubber here. I gotta have that available when I start messing around with the conveyors I have. So we can just put some conveyor rubber hanging down here. This motor here, it's barely hot. You don't even feel any heat on the hoses here, and I've been going for a while. So that's not gonna be a problem. So about the mount here, it wouldn't actually hurt getting this just a little bit longer out. But we're gonna put it on the excavator. We can do all the tilting stuff down in the ditch there. When driving like this, it works really well. You can just floor this machine. Well, it's like 11 kilometers an hour, so it's not that fast though. But there's no problem going full speed with this. The only thing now when I'm going is that I kind of need to adjust it all the time so it doesn't hit the rocks. It works having it like this as long as you don't hit something with that edge. It's gonna be a lot of braking power if that hits. If we're gonna keep going like this, I gotta weld a proper mount for that. But the winter is coming, so this is not gonna get used anymore this season. But we're still gonna paint this. I'm gonna do that in a week or two. I gotta order some paint for that, and we gotta put a name on the side. We need to give this a name. So if anyone has a good suggestion on a name for this, feel free to put a comment on that, and I'm gonna order a decal for that. So we got some proper name and some safety decals. We want this to look kind of pretty now. Onwards! I thought it felt a little unbalanced here on the end, so we lost a piece on the chains. Well, it's just so fun driving with this thing. So I gotta order some better chain, hardened chain. Even though this is, oh, that I also lost a piece of it. So it was a lot of rocks here in one place, so started eating that chain. But I gotta order some better chain for that. Yeah. But I mean, just look how this, it's just mulching. No problem, it's like a highway here now. And there. So this won't the entire road here. I think I drove it, it's around, could it be back and forth 4 kilometers with this now. And it works. Nah, very hot. Well. Well, with that said, I think we're gonna call it for this time. So, gotta be back painting this and putting some decals on that.